we'll walk you through how to master an audio track on Logic Pro X. If you find this video helpful, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to our channel. In order to master on Logic Pro, there are a few steps that are important to take to master any track. So I'm going to be working with a hip hop style genre here. So this is the non-mastered version of the track, and here is the mastered version. So we're going to try our best to make this one sound like this, full, loud and ready to be listened to. So the first thing you want to do is to make sure that you are maximizing the full buffer size of Logic. So as you can see here, it's at 256. For mastering, you want to have that all the way up to 1024, just so you can have a lot of power in your CPU to master the track. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do that and change that to 1024. There we go. So the next thing is to make sure that your audio track has enough headroom. So as you can see here, if I were to just play the track, okay, let me just go ahead and play the track just so you can listen to how the the audio sounds like. So let's take a listen. Right, and now let's listen to the mastered version. So as you can see, the sound on the second one is fuller, is richer, and that is the goal, and that is what we want to achieve. So moving back to our unmastered track. So when I play the audio, you can see that the headroom is very, very much available. Let's take a listen. So you can see it's hitting -13. You don't want this to be clipping or distorting, so that you can be able to use your limiters to push the song to a good level. So this is just perfect, and this works really well. So the next step is to just show you the plugins that I typically use for mastering. So I have a FabFilter Pro Q on here. I've got two of them. I've got also a Boss compressor from T-Rax, a fantastic compressor for mastering. And then I have the Ozone Imager just for that stereo width. Sometimes I use it, sometimes not so much, but it can be a cool effect to add some space and width to your audio track. And the next is FabFilter limiter. So I like to use two limiters just to make sure one is not doing all the work, and it just makes your sound much better and fuller. And the last is the Ozone maximizer as well. And I also love to use the soft clipping function here to just add a little bit more of saturation and grit to the sound. It works fantastic. I also have the AB metering plugin from Plugin Alliance. This is mainly for reference. I use it to reference my master track to an already mastered track easily, right? So the way that it works is that, so if I were to hit play, this is my audio track playing. If I click this, this is a track that I've imported to reference against my track. Fantastic tool for referencing. And also I have the WLM meter. This is from Waves, and this is just to check the level of my mastered sound. I typically like to keep it at -7, -8 thereabout. And then we have also the tonal balance plugin from iZotope. So this is just to make sure that our song is in the right frequencies. If it's too low or if it has too much highs, you can see it visually here and, make adjustments where necessary. All right, so let's get right into it. So the first thing I like to do is to just listen to the loudest part of the track. So let's go over here and just listen. Right, so this is a pretty loud part of the song, and the first plugin that I'm gonna go with is the FabFilter Pro Q. But first things first, I forgot to mention, it's really important to check the BPM of the track. That is something that I forgot to do, so I'm just gonna put in a plugin here because if the BPM is off, it might affect just the way the limiter works. So I'm just gonna grab in an audio plugin here, metering BPM counter, and just let's take a listen. Right, so the BPM is 79. You want to just go ahead and adjust that over here. Perfect. So now we have 79 as our working BPM. Perfect. So that's that looks good. All right. So yeah, I'm just gonna listen to that. I'm gonna add the FabFilter plugin here, and let's see how that sounds. So typically I would want to take off some of the lows just to get that cleaner sound. So I'm just going to cut out as much as 20 dB. Let's see how that sounds. Yeah, so this sounds much rounder, cleans up a lot of that mess in the lower end. You don't want to have that. I advise you use like headphones or studio monitor to listen, just so you can hear all of that bass and rowdiness that is in there. You want to take that out. So I think this is a good spot. Also, I like to cut out a little bit of those sharp highs that might just be a little sharp. So I'm just going to take up just a little bit of that. Right, so at this point it sounds pretty good, and remember, mastering, you're only accentuating and reducing little frequencies. You don't want to make any huge movements here or corrections. Every correction that needs to be made earlier has to be done in the mix, not at the mastering phase. So here we're just trying to make it sound better and remove any harsh sound, accentuate any nice frequencies that we want to accentuate. So I'm gonna accentuate a bit of that upper mid frequencies just to give it a little bit of brightness. Yeah, one thing I like to do is to make it dynamic as well. It just gives it a nicer. Right. So let's listen with that off. On. Yeah, that sounds good. All right, so the next thing I want to do is to take out some of those unwanted bass sides. So I'm going to be using a fat filter equalizer again, and I'm just going to cut out the low end up to, like, let's say 100. Then click on the bottom arrow icon here, go over the stereo placement and click side. So this removes all of the bass, all of the muddy frequencies from the sides. Just helps the sound to be a little bit cleaner as well. So yeah, I think about 100 hertz is like a really sweet spot for this. Yeah, so that sounds good. So the next thing is I'm going to be adding a little bit of compression, just a little bit, let's say 1 dB, maybe 2, depending on the track, just to get it all rounded and, just smoothing those harsh frequencies as well. So typically for mastering, I set a ratio of 4, very fast attack, slow, very slow attack, really fast release. And then I drop the makeup gain to 0. And yeah, let's take a listen with it off. On. Right, so there's no compression here, so I'm gonna drag the threshold a little bit. So ideally, you want to be aiming for about 1 dB of compression. That usually does the trick. Now that's perfect. So that sounds good. So moving forward is stereo imaging. This is also something that I do with my beats just to make the sound wider. It's really great to give your audio a lot of width and a lot of like space. So this is a good tool, but you have to be really careful with it and just do little adjustments are better than, like large changes. So let's just take a listen. Right, so what I can do is to probably just boost some of those higher frequencies. Let's just say from 3K. I don't want to do too much on this track. So let's just boost, let's say 3K. I'm just gonna add just a little bit on there. Let's say 15. Minimal changes to avoid any phase issues, and essentially once you have a little bit of air, a little bit of space, especially on the sides, I think that's usually enough. So I'm gonna add a little bit to the low mids as well. You just want that subtle effect, and yeah, so I'm gonna bypass it. Bypass off. Yeah, it's important to remember with the imager, you're not doing too much. You just want to have a little bit of air. All right. Yeah, so that sounds pretty good to me. Um, Moving forward is the limiters. So I like to use two limiters, Fab Filter and Ozone Maximizer. So adding the Fab Filter, I typically add about 7 to 8 decibels of gain. Let's see how that sounds. Yeah, so at this point, you want to be listening for any distortion, any weird sounds, and if it all sounds good, then you can go ahead and close it. I'm going to pull up the Ozone Maximizer. This is like the additional layer of limiting that I like to add. So usually there are different modes. I tend to go with the modern or balanced, but let's just listen and see how that sounds. Next up is the balance mode. Right, so let's listen to that. And then the modern RC4. So I feel like this sounds the best to me, so I'm gonna stick with this one. Then typically I like to adjust the ceiling to about minus 0.1 dB so it doesn't distort, put on true peak, and add usually around 4. Right, so this is dependent on how loud I want it to be. Usually I can go up to 7-8 dB, but I'm just gonna stick to 4 here just so it doesn't sound too loud on your end listening. So a nice plugin I like to use is the WLM meter from Waves. This just helps me like have an idea of how loud my master is. And typically like I tend to aim for minus 10, minus 8, around that range for the most part, because this gives me like an optimal sound before it's compressed when you release the song to like major streaming platforms. So to get it even louder, I'm just going to go back to Maximizer and add more decibels and some saturation using the soft clipper as well to get it louder. Right, so anywhere from -9, -10 is good enough for me for beats. And then final plugin is the Tonal Balance by Isotope. So this just helps to compare your beats with all other songs and tracks out there. And then you can have an idea to see if it's balanced or make adjustments where necessary based on the genre. this is looking really good because all the lines are in place. So that means it's gonna sound good on every kind of this device. So now A/B referencing. Yeah, so after A/B testing, it sounds just as loud, just as good. So I'm quite satisfied with the loudness. So let's compare it unmastered without the plugins. Now with the plugins. Alright, so let me know in the comments if this video helped you. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel for more amazing tips on music, production, mixing, mastering, and different tech tutorials as well. Alright, so see you on the next one. Peace.